hands, but it was big enough that most people were too busy with their own lives to mind anyone else's. "Do you want to consider terminating the pregnancy?" He already knew what her answer would be, but she'd need to consider every option before she made any decisions. Cutter wasn't surprised when she slid her palms protectively over her still flat stomach.
"Heavens, no. I would never do that. I'm not judging. That choice might be all right for some people, but you know I wasn't raised that way."
Though she and her father had been at odds for most of her life, Brea loved the big preacher and tried so hard to live righteously, to make the man proud. Her being unwed and expecting would devastate him, and his reputation. Ending the pregnancy, if anyone ever found out, would be 10 times worse. He thanked goodness Brea had chosen to visit a doctor in Lafayette, or her secret would be Sunset's juiciest fodder by the end of the day. "Understood. Let's grab a bite of lunch and talk." Cutter escorted her to the door. Someone walked into the clinic. Brea cast a side glance over at the stranger, a 40-something man who never once looked her way, merely went about his business, totally not caring why she had an appointment. The second Cutter escorted her outside, the chill in the wind told him November was finally bringing some relief to the muggy days they'd endured through September and most of October. Brea wrapped her sweater around her slender shoulders and hopped in his truck when he opened the door. He dashed around and settled in the driver's seat, then tugged on his seatbelt and started the vehicle. "What are you going to tell 1 Mile?" She tensed, eyes going wide.
"Nothing. You can't confront him about this either."
"Look, he's a jackass and he'll make a lousy father, but
I'm asking you to keep my secret,"
she pleaded with those big, dark eyes he'd never been able to refuse.
"Please."
"I have to work with him every day." As a fellow operative for EM Security Management, sometimes Cutter even had to trust the asshole with his life. She frowned.
"It's not as if you voluntarily speak to him. All you have to do is not mention me."
Was she insane? "He asks about you all the time." Pretty much every fucking day. Cutter still wasn't sure why. The guy didn't seem capable of actual attachment to anyone, but he obviously wasn't above using a woman for sex. Brea bit her lip.
"If my daddy finds out I got pregnant by a man who's never even taken me on a date, he'll disown me. You know that."
No disputing that fact. Cutter wasn't sure what that had to do with informing the douche who'd impregnated her that he was about to become a father, but after the confirmation of such jarring news, she was entitled to a break in logic. "When are you finally going to tell me what happened between you two?" She shook her head.
"Leave it."
He tried another tactic. "Be honest with me. Did he even bother to wear a condom?"
"Don't do this."
She frowned. "At least tell me if he forced you."
"No. And I won't cry rape when it wasn't."
He wanted to ask again just how the fuck a sweet girl who took her morals so seriously had crawled into bed with a professional killer. But Cutter knew. She'd done it to save him, because he traded himself for a group of innocents trapped in a hostage situation. The lone gunman had threatened to blast himself and the building into a million pieces. So, before the swap, he called his mama, his older brother, Cage, and Brea to say goodbye. Instead of accepting the situation, she'd hauled ass to Pierce, who insisted everyone call him 1 Mile as an homage to the former military glory of his longest recorded kill shot. She'd pleaded with him to save her best friend. The audacious piece of shit had bartered her body for Cutter's life. Every day since Pierce had blown away the perp threatening him, guilt that she had sacrificed herself ripped Cutter in two. Now that she was pregnant, the sting was 100 times worse. What the fuck was she going to do? He wanted to argue that 1 Mile had emotionally raped her. But he wouldn't win that argument because Brea refused to have it. What was done was done. Now they simply had to deal with it. "Move to Lafayette," he suggested instead. "You know my apartment complex has great security and good neighbors."
"With Daddy's heart condition?" She shook her head. "I can't leave him. Besides, all my clients are in Sunset. I'd have to start my business over."
"You wouldn't be that far away, and you could move in with me until you get on your feet."